Welcome back, everybody. Sorry I've been away for a while, but I came down with an enormous cold and couldn't really speak. Certainly didn't look very well, and was just generally really ill and couldn't really do anything. But back now, and this is the second part of the movie collection. This is all the kind of series that I have. They're not all complete, but they mainly consist of films that are sequels or part of a larger series. So my favourite series by far is the James Bond series. Been going since 1962, so more than 50 years, 24 films in total. So it's the longest running series in history and the most films in any series in history. And even though there are a few duds in the film series, I like most of them, to be honest. And just going to quickly talk through some of them. So first up is the first in the series, Dr. No, starring Sean Connery in his first film. And it's a classic. It's not really a spy film in the usual sense of plenty of Bond films, but because it's more of a detective kind of film, but with a big supervillain in it, with a larger organisation behind it. But classic. It's a bit dated now in terms of some of the aspects of it, but I still really love it, and it's easily one of my favourites from not only the 60s but in the series as a whole. And then moving on, they improved again. Well, they improved over the first film with From Russia with Love. Bit more tame in terms of the action, but the story is way better, and the plot is a lot better, and it expands upon the elements in the first film in terms of Spectre, who we came up against with Dr. No in the first film. And then we got the classic, really, probably my favourite of the lot, Goldfinger. Now this set the tone for the entire series in terms of gadgets, villain, car, in terms of the Aston Martin DB5, and overall theme, etc. Especially in terms of the music as well. The first one starring Shirley Bassey doing the theme song, and this set the whole overall theme of the entire series with Q as well and all the other stuff. So this is a classic and easily the first great and memorable James Bond film. And then we've got Thunderball. This ramped up the whole action kind of thing, underwater action scenes for the first time in the series, which really got good and still kind of stand up today. And Sean Connery once again going up against Spectre, which he didn't go up against in Goldfinger, but again for the third time they go up against Spectre, which this creepy organisation, which actually made a return in the latest film. And solid film. It's not the best of the Connery era. The first three are pretty much all even, gradually getting better, but this was a little bit of a step down, but still really good. Now, by far the second worst out of the Connery era, You Only Live Twice. This has the really cliche tropes of the spy genre at the time, and the whole thing of turning Connery into like a Japanese man is a bit ridiculous, but impressive sets, really solid action, and a good villain in the film with Blofeld. And then the first and only film to star George Lazenby in the first film to not star Connery, and on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And this is personally one of my favourites, certainly one of the best singular films in the series, i.e. ones that haven't continued on. And great. I think it has the best Bond girl. It has some great action scenes on the Alps, and it's just a shame George Lazenby didn't do another one, because he could have done one of the best films ever to continue on with the storyline of this film. And then the worst film from Connery, Diamonds Are Forever. It's far too cheesy. The plot is ridiculous. The action is okay, and the theme song is solid, but apart from that, it's got weird villains and really bad Bond girls in it, quite frankly. And then the first film to star Roger Moore in his long career as James Bond, and Live and Let Die. Kind of taken inspiration from the blaxploitation films of the era, and even though it's got solid action and a decent villain, it's a bit ridiculous in areas, and it just doesn't feel like a Bond film really. It just feels more like an American blaxploitation film. It's not really a spy film, to be honest, but a decent enough start from Roger Moore. Then it went slightly downhill with The Man with the Golden Gun. Solid villain in the form of Christopher Lee as Scaramanga, but apart from that, everything else is pretty weak. The Bond Girls is pretty weak. There's a couple of decent action scenes and a decent car chase, but apart from that, it's yeah, not all that good. And the only person he actually kills is his adversary. One kill in the whole film. Just doesn't feel like a Bond film to me when you've got a kill count that's that low. And the best film from Roger Moore, The Spy Who Loved Me. Great sets, great cars, great Bond girls. Got some amazing action scenes in it. Really nice plot. He's got your typical kind of cliche villain who wants to destroy the world and have it to all himself. But apart from that, it's a great film. And yeah, easily underrated as far as I'm concerned. A lot of people overlook this film because of the film that comes after it, and that's not for a good reason either. Because it's Moonraker. Basically, they saw how successful Star Wars was and thought, well, let's send James Bond to space. So yeah, it's got laser battles, a big space station, and it's just really campy, really cheesy, and yeah, really overblown. And yeah, not one of my favourites, but not the worst from Roger Moore, that's for sure. And the second best one from Roger Moore, For Your Eyes Only. After the ludicrousness of Moonraker, it went back to basics really. Honed it all the way down, made it more grounded, made it easily the darkest in terms of tone from Moore. And yeah, it's again got the Lotus Esprit from Spy Who Loved Me. And yeah, really good action scenes, really good villains. And even though the ending is a bit underwhelming, it's still a solid film. And yeah, really back to basics approach. And then we've got the next two from Roger Moore, which quite frankly are boring, in all honesty, in most parts anyway. First one is Octopussy. Nah, there's not really much to you know, be memorable about this, but it's not the worst film from Roger Moore by any means, and it's entertaining enough for the moment that it's around, but after that it's pretty forgettable. And then by far one of the worst films from Roger Moore, A View to a Kill. Decent soundtrack. And Christopher Walken is a really solid villain, but Roger Moore was way too old by this time. He's well over 56 years old, and it just doesn't really work in terms of him bedding women that are well below half his age. And yeah, he's not even in all the film. He's barely been able to do any of these action scenes because he's so old at that point. And yeah, just comes across as, you know, not throwing the baton across because they just want to play it safe. And as a result, that meant that we had a complete tonal shift in the form of the first film starring Timothy Dalton in The Living Daylights. They took this completely back to basics. Didn't focus it on maniacal villains or anything like that, but it focused more on like the action scenes and the dark, brooding tone. And Timothy Dalton took it far more seriously than the likes of Roger Moore did with its comedic tones. So yeah, far better than View to a Kill. And then the best film from Timothy Dalton, License to Kill. This is the darkest film from any of the James Bond series, because as you can see, it's got a 15 rating. Living Daylights only had a PG, and so did every other James Bond film up until that point, which just shows how much darker and more violent this film is. And yeah, really shook up the series, and yeah, definite favourite from the 80s. I think the only other film I could probably compete it against is For Your Eyes Only, but I think even that can't beat this. So yeah, definite favourite from the 80s, this one. And then the film that everybody probably got into James Bond series with, GoldenEye. Certainly the film that got me into the series and carried on the 15 certificate, because it was really rather violent. And yeah, even though there are cracking action scenes and Pierce Brosnan does do his best, and he has a really good villain in the form of Sean Bean, it's far from the best of the series. But nostalgia carries this a long way, and yeah, still a solid film even today. And the only other real movie I could recommend from the Pierce Brosnan age is Tomorrow Never Dies. Again, a 15, so it carried on the violence, and yeah, really good action scenes, really good villain in the form of Jonathan Pryce. Looks great, the soundtrack is decent enough, and it's got a solid car chase in it. Well, motorbike chase and car chase. But yeah, it's the only other one I could recommend from the Pierce Brosnan era, because after that it's all downhill. And the first one of those to go downhill is The World Is Not Enough. This had massive potential, in the form of a female villain that was able to seduce Bond and deceive him in every way, and also having a villain that couldn't feel any pain, but he just underused it completely and just went complete cliche and just abandoned all the potential that it could have had. It's got a solid boat chase at the beginning and a few other good action scenes. Yeah, could have been a whole lot better. They had the massive potential to go through with this and do better with it, but they just didn't, and they just went for the obvious and easy route, and yeah, it's a real shame. And talking of huge potential, Die Another Day. It releases for the 40th anniversary, which, despite the fact it was ready a year before, just shows that they delayed it to be coincide with that anniversary. And instead of improving it over that course of that year, they just pretty much did nothing worthwhile. Crap CGI, rubbish lead Bond girl in the form of Halle Berry, awful action for the most part after the first opening scene before the credits, which is a generally good action scene, but apart from that, yeah, there's really not that much to recommend with this. Again, could have gone with the potential of Bond being tortured and at the beginning, and not being up to scratch anymore maybe or anything like that, but no, they just went completely cliched, and the amount of references to previous films is just shocking. There really is no reason for this film, and certainly no reason to watch it unless you want to unintentionally laugh at it. So yeah, after that catastrophe of Die Another Day in terms of critical reception, which was easily one of the worst received films since A View to a Kill, he went complete reboot with Daniel Craig in Casino Royale. Top 10 Bond film without a shadow of a doubt. Did what they did with the Timothy Dalton films and took it back to basics, made it more violent, made it more emotional, and yeah, cracking film. It's actually the second film directed by Martin Campbell, isn't it? I think it is, yeah. But he revitalised the series with GoldenEye, and he did it again with Casino Royale, so it just shows how good of a director he is. And then a disappointment of a film, quite frankly, after Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace. Now, I'm personally a defender of this film, but I still can't deny that the script is really weak, the shaky cam is boring, and got to couple that with the underwhelming villain. And yeah, this is a film that is flawed, but still has some things going for it, and again, potential, but that's sadly not fulfilled. And second to last film, and easily I'd say it's probably my second favourite, Skyfall. Sam Mendes did an absolutely amazing job with this. Utterly brilliant action. Daniel Craig is great, the plot's great, all the other actors are solid, and yeah, one hell of a plot, and Javier Bardem is a brilliant villain, easily one of the best villains of the James Bond era. And finally, bringing it all back to the first film, Spectre makes a return in the form of Spectre. And yeah, even though I know full well that a lot of people didn't like this film for some of the plot elements and etc., I love this. It's a cracking film. The action scenes are brilliant. Daniel Craig is once again great. The fact that it expands the role to the likes of Ben Whishaw as Q is solid, and yeah, Christoph Waltz plays a brilliant villain. So yeah, hopefully they'll continue on this path of success, quite frankly, because Skyfall and Spectre were by far the best two in a long while with the series outside of Casino Royale. So yeah, other series that I've got Clint Eastwood Collection, so it's not entirely all of the same series, but it's a fistful of dollars for a few dollars more. The Good, the Bad and the Ugly and Hang 'em High, all kind of related, especially the first two, but yeah, cracking western films from the 60s, and they don't get much better than this in terms of western films. And then we've got Indiana Jones Collection, so that's Indiana Jones and Raiders Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones The Last Crusade, and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. First three are brilliant. Personally, I find the third film to be the best of the lot, though it's undeniable how great the first one is, and I really like the dark tone of the second one, but the fourth one, sorry, it has some good ideas and some good parts to it, but it's a CGI heavy, sci-fi influence, George Lucas mess, quite frankly. George Lucas put his nose in way too much on that film compared to the other ones. And then we got 2 Kill Bill films, great films. Quentin Tarantino once again makes a marvellous couple of films. I understand that these were originally to be one film, but it was too long and they had to split it up, so it's technically a series, but you can technically call it one film as well. But either way, cracking film, and Uma Thurman is great in that. And then we've got Hellboy and Hellboy 2 The Golden Army. 2 cracking films. Actually, the sequel is better than the original, which is rare for a sequel to be better than the original. And yeah, great films. Nice new take on the comic book genre, which was in its heyday at the time, and it kind of is now. There were 2 kind of different periods for the heyday of superhero films, but yeah, certainly far more unique than other superhero films of the day or now. And I really, really want that 3rd film. Get on with it, Guillermo del Toro. And then we've got a controversial series for the kind of films that they are. Terminator 2, Terminator 2, and Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. And yeah, sorry, I just dropped one. Yeah, the first 2 are cracking, as you probably know if you've seen them already. I don't see how you haven't if you're an action buff or even just into movies, but yeah, the first 2 were great. I personally prefer the first one to the second one. It's not really for any saying that this is bad, but I just like the aesthetic and the 80s vibe that you get from this film that this one doesn't give off all that much, because obviously it was in the 90s, but they're still both cracking films. And yeah, I could easily choose between each one of them as my favourite. James Cameron did a fantastic job. But unfortunately, it went a little bit downhill with the 3rd one. I kind of like it just for a pure brainless action film, but it has none of the themes, none of the actual depth of the first 2, and yeah, it's just a shame that they screwed it up. But they didn't screw it up as much as Terminator Genesis, which was awful. Do not watch that film. It is utter rubbish. And then we've got Ace Ventura Pet Detective and Ace Ventura When Nature Calls. I love Jim Carrey, I think he's hilarious, and these are the 2 solid films from the 90s in his heyday. And yeah, I can understand why I didn't revisit the series, but they were 2 cracking films. Childhood favourites, that's for sure. And then we've got Night of the Living Dead, and then we've got Dawn of the Dead, and then we've got Day of the Dead. 3 classic zombie films, all different in their own way. Night of the Living Dead for being pioneering of the zombie genre, really low budget, black and white, but it was the first zombie film to really have the kind of gore that you'd associate with zombie films of the day. Obviously there were zombie films in the past, but yeah, nowhere near the level of gore with this, and that's why it's an 18. And then Day of the Dead is the one that, no, not Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead is the one that's seen as the best of the series, and I can see why, because it's got the satire, it's got the gore, it's got the action, it's got the characters, etc. But me personally, and don't tell me why, ask me why, because I really don't know, but Day of the Dead is my favourite. It's got the kind of one, sorry, the camera is just slightly out of the way for me. It's got the one setting area that I really like in films. I love films that can be set in one place and do really well with it, and this is mostly set in one place. The gore is fantastic. I love the doom and gloom aspect of it, the whole dread of, oh no, we're the only ones alive and everyone else is dead kind of thing. And yeah, it might not be a joyful film, but it's really, really rather yeah, solid, and as you can see, the darkest day of horror the world has ever known, and that certainly is fulfilled with the film. And then we've got the 3 Cornetto trilogy in the form of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. Great films, really. All of them satirising 3 different genres. It's obviously the zombie genre, action films, cop films from like America, etc. And then sci-fi films and apocalyptic films. And yeah, they're cracking. Shaun of the Dead is a classic, obviously. Hot Fuzz, even though I don't find it as funny as the first film, it's still a solid action film in even its own right, and it's still funny in areas. And World's End is one of the funniest films I've ever watched, quite frankly. I find it hilarious. All 3 cracking films. loosely, put together in terms of themes, but still solid nonetheless, and still a series. And then we got Star Trek, and then we got Star Trek Into Darkness, and then we got Star Trek Beyond. Now, I have seen all the original films recently, in fact, and even though I really, really like them, I still really, really like this series reboot as well. Quite frankly, I don't know why Star Trek Beyond didn't do as well. Barely made 400 million compared to the others that made well over that, and it's a bit of a shame, really, because I think this to be a perfectly solid trilogy. It might not satisfy fans in the best way, but since I'm not into the whole series in a deep, deep way, I find this a solid series, and it's probably one of the few trilogies that is actually a solid trilogy. Now on to other horror films in the form of The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, The Enfield Case, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of horror films from the modern era, like especially post 2010, but these two buck the trend, especially in terms of sequels, because normally sequels from horror films nowadays are rubbish compared to their original. But in this case, both solid and both perfectly good. They really do scare me, and I can't say that often about horror films because most horror films don't. Then we've got probably one of my more favourite series, the Die Hard series. So we've got Die Hard, Die Hard 2, Die Hard, a Die Hard with a Vengeance, Die Hard 4.0, or Live Free Die Hard in America. And yeah, perfectly solid quadrilogy. I'm not counting the fifth one because it's utter rubbish and I'm never going to buy it, so I'm counting it as a 4-film series, quite frankly. And yeah, perfectly happy just having the 4 because the fifth one is utter rubbish. And Die Hard is my favourite film of all time, so it's a great way to start off that series, quite frankly. Yeah, got a hair in my mouth. And then we've got Life of Brian and The Holy Grail. You technically can't consider it a series, but it's just from Monty Python. I personally do. There's the Meaning of Life as well that is around, but it's nowhere near as good as these two. And this one caused so much controversy over here in the UK that it was actually banned in some places, which just shows how good it is. A comedy that is able to, not just mock but satirise a religion is perfectly good in my eyes, and do it in a clever way as well. And we got Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger from the Jack Ryan series. I still need to get The Hunt for Red October, which came out before Patriot Games, and The Summer of All Fears came out after Clear and Present Danger, but these two and the first one are solid. And we got Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. I've not got the third one because once again a third film in a series is rubbish, which I will get to in the next few different DVDs. But yeah, cracking superhero films. Rare case where both of them are equal. I really can't, decide between the two of them, because Spider-Man has the whole action and the whole infancy, innocence kind of thing to it that's got going for it, but then Spider-Man 2 has a whole, trying to find out who you are, and a great villain to go with it as well. So yeah, they're both really rather solid. And talking about third films that are rubbish, we've got The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. And I know these aren't, the greatest films ever, and they are rather silly and cheesy and etc. But perfect escapist entertainment, and yeah, I really, really like them. But the third film again is utter rubbish. So yeah. And then talking about utter rubbish third film, we've got The Matrix and The Matrix Reloaded. I like these films a lot. Obviously this one's the better one because it's more original, etc, etc, but you can't ignore the great action in this film. But again, the first film was utter rubbish in the form of The Matrix Revolutions, so yeah, that can't be helped. And then we've got Lethal Weapon Collection, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, and yeah, I love the first two. Both of them are classics of the 80s buddy cop genre. The third one's okay, and the fourth one's a bit of a letdown. Okay, escapist entertainment, but nowhere near has the same kind of vibe of the first two. Then we've got the Dirty Harry collection, so that's Dirty Harry, Magnum Force, Enforcer, Sudden Impact and the Deadpool. Really, really like these classic cop detective films. and yeah, Clint Eastwood is really, really good. The first film, though, is by far the best of the lot. Then we've got Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Still need to get The Dark Knight Rises. Oh my god, the dust on that. But yeah, I love these. I love this one especially for its... Sorry. I love this one especially for the miniatures that it employs in that end train crash. Something that was used heavily in the original films, especially in the Tim Burton 2 ones, Batman and Batman Returns, two of which I also really, really like and need to get my hands on. But yeah, this one's still a solid film. Still uses plenty of practical effects as well. And yeah, can't ignore how great Heath Ledger is as the Joker. And finally, since we already you've already seen the Fast and Furious series that I have, we have X-Men, X-Men 2, X-Men First Class, and X-Men Days of Future Past. Still need to get Apocalypse, but I'm never going to buy the X-Men Last Stand because, again, third film in the series, utter rubbish. But yeah, classic superhero films, and you could say these kicked off the Marvel universe in style in 2000, because this was X-Men came out before Spider-Man, came out before Hellboy, came out before all of those films. Quite frankly, it was only superseded in the Marvel universe by Superman. So no, not Superman, that was DC. So yeah, X-Men superseded all of them Marvel films. DC were the ones that did start it great, and now it's Marvel that are starting and continuing it to be great, because DC have gone downhill, Marvel have only gone uphill ever since X-Men film. So yeah, they're the series of films I have. There are others, but they're ones that I am nowhere near as proud of as owning, like the Fantastic Four films that I got when I was young and I was naive. Legend of Zorro, Mask of Zorro, and Legend of Zorro is rubbish, but the first one's really, really solid. And yeah, that's about it. So yeah, that's practically my whole film collection. Extensive, I know, but by no means the biggest one I've ever seen on the internet or in real life. So yeah, but I still love plenty of these films, and yeah, I've got several of my favourite series, and yeah, James Bond series is still going strong now, and is still my favourite series of all time. Maybe it's because I grew up with it in some way, but I still love it, and yet to find a series to supersede it. So yeah, post in the comments your favourite kind of series of films, and yeah, we'll hopefully talk about them in the future. So yeah, thanks for watching, and oh yeah, by the way, I've got my Xbox One back, so yeah, we'll be starting back up on the video games tomorrow. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.